Welcome to FayetteCountySchoolSports.com. I'm Samantha Burford. We are here at Jack Burford Chevrolet coming to you with a live regional show, and we are going to let the men introduce themselves right off the bat. So we're going to start on your left right here.
Hi, I'm Doug Sally.
Larry Frakes.
And I'm Terry Netherton.
Okay, so the guys, I'm going to add in a few things, but I'm going to let you guys start off with some high school football.
That sounds good. I'm looking at some of the matchups this week, and Lafayette obviously going to Scott County. Scott County beat them earlier in the year. That's one of their of Lafayette's 2 losses, and they got beat by Trinity.
Okay.
And
I like Scott County with only 1 loss going to Elder in Ohio. I think that's a proven team, and they've been there year in, year out. I like the way Scott County's playing. I think they're going to be better in that matchup for me. I think in the other 6A bracket, I like it the Trinity Mayo matchup. I think that's going to be a really good game. Trinity lost that game early on, and Mayo kind of gave it to them. But Trinity late in the season has always proven that they're going to be around. And last year, as an example, kind of written off, they show up and they win the whole thing. So I like that Trinity Mayo matchup in Louisville this weekend on that one.
Well, to me, in the Scott County Lafayette game, it's going to be who can find the football for Lafayette. If they can find out the hidden ball trick that Scott County plays with the magical offense they run.
Is this a UK game? Is that how this goes? Find the guy on the sidelines, guys. Find the guy on the sidelines.
No, just the way that they run their offense with their option, you can't ever keep up with who's got the ball, and the Scott County quarterback is ahead of the Walker Woods, the quarterback at Lafayette, in rushing. But Walker Woods has 15 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions, where you don't even see the Scott County quarterback ranked in passing at all. So it's
they've always been big run together. It's a Michigan style. Everybody, that's kind of been their MO for a while. They're big kids. They've been there year in and year out. So I give them the edge. I'd like to see Lafayette. I'm always for the new guy coming in. I haven't seen Lafayette in a long time in that 6A division. It's good to see Lexington School come up and make a little wave. So I'd like to see Lafayette actually win that game.
And the Scott County coach's creed is don't ever lose to a Fayette County team.
You got it. So, and that's why I said it's going to be a tough road to hoe for them.
Yep.
And I've got actually Mayo and Scott County in that final. I gave Mayo the edge over Trinity because I just think Mayo's a better team. Everybody I've talked to in Louisville tells me, I went to St. X. A lot of people go to Trinity. That Mayo is the real deal this year. We're playing for second, and so far they've proven it. They're undefeated, and they've got a heck of a year so far. Ironically, I think the only game they really had was against St. X, and Trinity put it on them last week, 31-7. So
Lexington Christian and Danville, another good matchup.
That's a good matchup. There's a lot of good, really good matchups that I was looking at, and I did like that one. I like that matchup. I like DeSales as a defending, which is their 3rd straight year. They've already won 2 state champs in that division. I like DeSales coming in again. They've been there. But it is Danville, and I'm giving that. My matchup actually in the finals on that one, kind of DeSales and Mayfield. I kind of played with that. But I like DeSales on the experience level, and I went with Danville in that final on that one. I gave DeSales the edge on that.
Well, I think Danville, they already beat Lexington Christian once.
Yep.
And, just like Lafayette got beat by Scott County, but I like to see the Wheatley kid. He's a Richmond native, but he plays at Lexington Christian. He leads all 2A in rushing and touchdowns and so on and so forth, and they pretty much shut him down the first time they played. So if Lexington Christian can make the adjustments, then they might be able to give a different battle. But he's a big kid. He runs the ball well, and he's done a great job for the school all year long. So I think that is probably the game that I'm going to go watch personally, just because of the interest with watching him run.
There's a couple of them. I may be in Louisville this weekend. I'm doing a little job transition, so I might have a weekend off, but I may check out that. My dad and I go and try that Trinity Mayo game. I think that's going to be kind of the cream of the crop this year. That's going to be a heck of a football game.
The other one, Lexington Catholic and Central. You and I got to see Lexington Catholic come right in here. We called that game when they played Madison Central,
and they were the real deal. And I don't think Central was quite prepared for that. I don't think that we talked about that too. I think Central came off that and they weren't quite ready, and they didn't play the game I think they could have played in that game. But Lexington Catholic came in and just they handed it to them.
Absolutely, and that was homecoming night, and they shut Central down
Caught them on their
in a big way. Now Central, the Central team, knocked off Boyle County last week. They had 4 interceptions, and they put together a good game, and they shut Boyle County down big time. And they had won many games, 12 games in a row or something. And Boyle County just has a phenomenal record and reputation, and Central didn't put up with any of it. They went in there and took care of business. So Lexington Catholic's going to have their hands full.
I believe that. I got Elizabethtown actually circled in that. That's a team that came out. High scoring offense, and I look at Belfry in that division too. That's probably out of all of them, I look at Belfry with the best defensive. They gave up some big points against the West Virginia team, and they gave up some big points against State Creek. But after that, they pretty calmed down on defense. I think they're a good program on the defensive side. Defense wins championships. I think Belfry's got the extra me on that division. So that's kind of where I went with that one. 4A, I circled the South Warren game. I like them. They're 12-0, and they're another good defensive team. They haven't given up a lot of points at all this year. And then I've got Johnson Central down the other side. I think they're going to be a good matchup there.
As usual.
As always.
They're going to be right in the thick of it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then I go on the 5A. We talked about Pulaski County, and there were some questions on that quarterback. You and I got to watch them personally play. That's a move-on offense. They line up quick. They play fast. They score a lot of points. They got 3 seniors with a fullback. They got a receiver and their quarterback. There was some question, I think, when we started the show, what his health was. And
Randy Hall has had some health issues throughout the season, and when he's healthy, Pulaski County is they're ready to repeat.
I agree. That's going to be the team to beat, I think, if he's healthy. Bowling Green's a solid team. I looked at the Bowling Green-Owensboro matchup. They've already played once this year. They came in 17-14. They're meeting again Friday night. I think that can go either way.
And don't forget Highlands, too.
Highlands
they moved up this year to 5A, and, of course, they're a traditional powerhouse.
Yeah, they got a Covington-Catholic matchup. But, yeah, I think Pulaski County's a team to beat. They're defending, and they got the seniors back. I think they're offensively, they're the team to beat. We watched them play, and we're very impressed. But, again, it has to go back. If that quarterback's healthy, I think they're going to be there. And then you get to the 6A division we already talked about, Trinity and Mayo. A lot of that, and Mayo's a heck of a team. I got Mayo and Scott County going. That's what I got. I'd love to see Lafayette sneak in there. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, it's going to be a close game. I think Scott County averages 46 points a game, and Lafayette's 43, and just that parity in the running of the quarterbacks and the passing game. Obviously, Scott County's can shut that down with their defense, but one of my favorite teams all year long has been Bryan Station. They got beat by Scott County, and Raphael Few last week, he had 4 balls for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns in their loss at Scott County last week.
We watched them play, and we love that
I
team.
love them. I just like the way they play,
were
the
a
way they
great
conduct
team.
business, and
They really were.
hate that they're out of it. They were fun to watch.
Yeah, they were really good fun to watch. When we had Burbage on here last time, we were hoping they would move some in there and do some good things this year.
You guys had picked that last time.
We did, and you know what?
Picked Bryan Station.
You couldn't, if Cordell said right, you had to say go Bryan Station. We had to jump on that
You had to
bandwagon.
while he was here,
But we watched them, and they defensively were good. They had athletes in every position. I think
They played both ways. Several of their players.
they got a couple
were,
Division I players, I think,
Yeah.
signed over the break. I think so.
Well, he was all about it too.
I
So,
agree,
as well
and
he should
him,
be.
and he's what should have been, and that's
He
what.
should be.
But they were a solid team, and we thought they could make a lot of ways.
After watching them here, I just really liked the way they played and the way they managed themselves and conducted business. And as the season goes on, people get hurt, they get burned out, you get all the drama, distractions, possibly. Who knows what really happened from that point? I know their coach was suspended for a game for something, and who knows what kind of a
They kept that kind of hush-hush.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of a
Yeah, they
crowd
didn't
that
know
might have
anything
put on
about
it, but I mean, just anything like that, could have tipped the card. But I like the Bryan Station. And
You liked Horton in the middle. I
Mhm.
like Devin Key, who I thought was an outstanding player. I think Devin Key actually signed with Western, if I'm not mistaken, when I talked to them last. So, they had the athletes. They were a good team. Unfortunately, they didn't pull off against Scott County, which is why I kind of give that edge to Scott County this week.
We'll be talking about him in basketball.
Yeah,
though.
absolutely.
Always.
Don't worry about it.
Always, yeah, we already got my notes on that, and I see that, Henry Clay Lafayette and Bryan Station are back in that mix as well, so.
Yeah, you
We're
wanna
gonna
go
do that in
into,
11th region,
you
so.
wanna talk a little preseason high school basketball?
Yeah, I'm gonna defer a little bit because, I'm not as spoken as well as hopefully the football, but we got an
That's a
expert
nice
down here, and
little segue
hopefully he's
right
gonna do
there.
that.
Nice little
That was
transition.
really good.
Well, it looks like the regional favorites in the 11th region are coming out of Lexington this year. Central is in a rebuilding stage. They're really young, small, and Madison Southern is got a lot of experience back. But the powerhouse teams are coming out of Lexington, and you got to start with Dunbar. Dunbar's got 2 D1 players: Darius Williams, who is the preseason 11th region player of the year, and the Hollingsworth kid. Both of them averaged over 20 points a game last year, and they've got a point guard, Jordan Lewis, who Coach Chalk said that he is as quick as the Timmons kid that was at Franklin County. So great athletes. They have some good depth and 2 D1 players, maybe 3 with the Lewis kid too. And then they go to we go to Lafayette, 21-12 coming back. They've got a lot of size, 6'6" Ross Jenkins and Harrison Lane kid, who's an expert 3-point shooter. Then I saw Daniel Brown the other day, Henry Clay's coach, and he really loves his team. They were 21-11 last year. They've got the Isaiah Tinsley kid who averaged 18 last year, and the Sims boy who is a 6'6" transfer from Ohio that no one really knows anything about yet. And then they go 6'5", 6'4", 6'3" across the back.
Pretty good for high school
They've
size.
got great size, and so with the addition of the transfer, you'd have to put Henry Clay in the mix.
That'll depend on how they gel and play together.
Of
but
course.
You know what I mean? That's,
Oh, yeah.
that's a, I mean, that, you can't beat size, you don't teach size.
Well, Coach
so.
Brown was really high on his team as far as the defensive
Yeah.
side. He really likes their quickness and the ability to get after it. Bryan Station was 22-8 last year, regional runner-up. They've got DeAndre Dishman back and Andre Davis, who's a leading scorer coming back for them. And so those are the 4 teams out of the 11th region that kind of the cream of the crop. Scott County, who you always throw in the mix, is very, very young. They're as young as they've ever been.
They must be off on their recruiting.
Well,
It's amazing, because I just heard that in my other ear.
I just that at the same time.
That was
Sometimes they just have
Seems to be a
athletes
theme
fall in their
here.
lap for some reason. We can't ever figure out why, but hey, I know everybody's playing by the rules. Check with Roderick Rhodes.
Billy said that this is the youngest team he's ever had, no matter where he's
What's his
been.
Twitter handle? We'll have
Out of the 41st region, Woodford County looks to be the cream of the crop there, but I don't think they're in the same boat with these Lexington schools. And you always say Lexington Catholic's got to be in the hunt. They lost a lot of kids from the regional runner-up team, regional winning team last year. So looks like Lexington's going to be the team, they're going to have the teams to beat.
And what are they gonna be competing with out of Louisville?
Uh,
You know? I mean, we gotta sneak in, Owensboro comes in last year, I think they were kinda under the
Yeah.
radar going into the Sweet 16, they end up, and they come out and win the whole thing. I know Trinity was a favorite, Ballard was a favorite coming into that Sweet 16.
Taylor
so.
County's going to be thrown in the mix this year.
Hey, anything can happen. We saw
Scott County,
Central
we
win
see
it.
these teams, yeah, Central, but yeah, that was like a dream year.
And speaking of Central, Coach Feldhouse, he might have a young team and an inexperienced team, but he's going to have. I guarantee he's going to mold his team with what talent he has. He's not going to sit there and try to run plays that obviously they can't handle. And as an AAU team, they put together a pretty good season. So.
We've got Tariq Miller back.
Yeah.
He's a shooter, and then John Williams, a point guard. And as Williams goes, Central will probably go. Talked to Coach Feldhouse the other day, and he was really high on his freshman class. He said by the end of the season, some of those kids may be playing varsity ball and maybe even starting. They've got some size, and I've heard nothing but great things about their freshman class. So they may be rebuilding this year, but watch out here in the next couple of years for Central.
And they did. I can see you got some notes there where they had a couple of key losses with Sam Jones and Kirkland Humphreys.
Yeah, and Kirkland's actually walked on the Eastern team. He's on their practice squad right now, so he ended up there. Madison Southern has got 4 starters back from last year. They had Andrew Miller kid that got hurt in football, and it kind of threw him out of the mix. But they've got Tanner Kidwell, Stacy Burns, Caleb Miller, and Michael Jefferson all back from last year. So Coach Buttry's real high on his team. He feels like that they've got a shot to knock off Central and their 20-some year run that they've had on the district championship. And so it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. There's a lot of parity in the 44th district this year. Model says they've got the best team they've had in years. Berea's got all 5 of their starters back from last year. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Now, the one kid from Southern, he tore his ACL, right?
Andrew Miller.
Right.
in
So will
football.
he be back at all for
No.
any part of the season?
No, they're not expecting that.
No,
Yeah.
not even for playoffs.
Not,
What year
not
is
from
he?
what I've heard. He was a senior, I
That's
think.
the senior year.
And going back to Madison Southern, Madison Central, when we did the Coach Feldhouse show at the end of his season last year, he was so excited. So many people thought that he would retire after this year. But he's even talking like he's going to stay until this freshman team that he has this year will become seniors. He is that excited about this team.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great. You want to talk about the, our sponsors a little bit, Samantha?
Yeah, absolutely. We want to thank Jack Burford Chevrolet and Express Roofing because they are our official sponsors, able to have all of us bring this entertainment to you tonight. So
That's exactly
we thank
what it is.
them for that because that is
Absolutely.
kind of nice, isn't it? Y'all don't even have to push it over here. We have two great sponsors, so it's
Yeah.
fantastic, and we thank them for that. We are at Jack Burford Chevrolet, so we kind of take over their conference room. So this is FayetteCountySchoolSports.com, and we appreciate everybody watching. What else do we need to talk about,
College
guys?
football.
Well, we gotta go there.
Yeah,
We have to go.
well, we got two teams.
Sore topic.
Two teams in the local area here. UK needs to win two to get a bowl bid, and then Eastern needs to do some work to get into the playoffs in the 2014 format that they have for their football championship series division. So, you
And
know,
the theme is a new quarterback.
yep, Drew Barker was named the starter for UK, and that is something that
Where's that
people.
consistency? You put Drew Barker in, and I think he had good stats when he went in. He had the pick six. But other than the pick six, I thought it was like, I think 7 for 9 or something, 7 for 10. He had 70 yards. You look at the stats for Patrick Toll, but they pulled him back out. And, where's the consistency then? That's what, we talked about this in the regional show last year. And I said when we started this, and obviously you may chime in on this, okay? You got a UK team, and let's just say they're going to beat Charlotte this weekend. But after we've watched
Charlotte's
this team,
0-8, by the way.
okay, so even now, okay, we've already talked. They're going to beat Charlotte this weekend. Now you got to beat Louisville, okay? And I think Louisville right now is hot. They're playing
Right.
well, okay? So now you got to
They
beat the
start
Louisville
out
team, and there's not a lot of
hard.
people have a lot of faith in that. But let's say they beat Louisville, and let's say they win 6 games this year. Is that a successful season for UK?
I think it is at this point because you've got all these recruits on the line. And a lot of these kids are staying out of their decision until they find out how UK is going to finish. And they blew some momentum last year when they finished kind of on the downslide. They had some recruits lined up, and Damian Harris was even in that mix there for a long time. And these kids have got to see progress before they're going to commit to a school. And I think that's why these next 2 games for UK are huge, just to keep the momentum going. Coach Stoops has had a great run on recruits and bringing in some caliber athletes that UK has never had before.
Right.
So it's going to be crucial that they win these next 2 games. And Charlotte is a 24-point underdog, and you feel comfortable with either quarterback coming into that game. And I think they're starting Barker just to put him in that situation where he can have some confidence and not have that pressure on him going into his first
And maybe
start.
get him ready for Louisville.
Yeah, it's the perfect
Exactly.
game for him to start. The one thing that stands out to me in UK is Rich Brooks was almost in this same status at 3 years into the program, and look what he did. He was a hero when he left. So, can we give Stoops a little bit more time? Absolutely. All right. Now, the second thing is the Louisville. Why is Louisville on fire? Because Petrino, if a quarterback ain't hot, he's going to pull him out and get somebody that can get the job
Who's the
done.
quarterback right now?
Well,
Lexington Cat.
that's exact. But I'm just saying, you got, everybody fusses over Tolles, and now they've got Barker in there, and I can see that. I mean, Petrino's like, if you ain't hot, I'm going to get somebody in there that can do the job. You've got enough quarterbacks.
So there's a bunch of issues that were brought up, especially on the quarterback position. And one of the things that was brought up that I thought was a really interesting comment was each quarterback throws the ball different, and everybody has a different delivery. Kentucky has a lot of drop passes.
You ain't kidding.
And what they're talking about is one of the things that was brought up is that has a lot to do with Toll's delivery, how he's throwing it or what he's throwing compared to a Barker who doesn't have as many drops, or is that going to be something you look forward to? That's something to look for.
The frustrating thing to me about UK with the Vanderbilt thing was they gave Vanderbilt just about everything they needed. I mean, they had the ball inside the 2-yard line twice, didn't get any points. They had a punt blocked. They had a pick six. They fumbled themselves on the 5-yard, which gave Vanderbilt their first score. It was such a frustrating game.
And then you go 4th
Too many
and 1. You're down 14-10. You go 4th and 1 on the 49-yard line. You don't get it.
They went long.
And yeah, which not even talk about that one. But you don't get it, and then you go to sleep, and you forget there's an eligible receiver standing on the sidelines that nobody picks up.
Why is the safety
And
not
suddenly
catching people?
we got to score with under a minute in the game. My problem isn't, first of all, I think Stoops is a good coach, and I think he was the right person for the job. My problem isn't that. My problem is, why do you give him a contract extension after a three-win season? In the middle of a season.
Right, that should have never
That to
happened.
me was the one that I question where the contract extensions came from, where the extra money came from, based on a 3-win season. And what I see a lot of Kentucky's problem, there's a lot of coaching breakdown. You're first and goal in 2 separate occasions inside the 2-yard line, and you come up with nothing in both scenarios. Then you're 4th and 1, and you're in the midfield, and you're only down 14-10. You punt the ball.
Well, the thing
You
that
get- you
frustrated
put it
me
down
on
there.
those goal line plays with the play calling was Toles was working out a shotgun.
Right.
That means I'm gonna throw the ball, and you're on the 1-yard line. Toles is 6'5" and 240
Put him under
pounds.
center.
Put him under center, and at least have that option there where the defense has to think about, okay, we have to stop 2 different situations.
Exactly.
Instead of being a single.
And you're at 6'5", 240, you run that play 4 times, my guess is you're in the end zone.
Yeah, let the line clear out and then jump over 'em.
You know, and that to me was, I think there's a lot of coaching breakdown to me in that particular game. And that's where I say, do I think Stoops is the right person? Is a Rich Brooks scenario? Yes. My problem was, why do you spend so much money that way on a 3-win season? Is it to keep the recruits?
Well, that's
the
that's
answer?
what it was,
Yeah.
and right now UK is getting the SEC talent at their number 1 spots.
Right.
But UK does not have the number 2 and the number 3
Well-
players to provide the depth to overcome these injuries and just the wear and tear on you during a game.
And that's what Stoops said time and time again, and you can look at how important that is anytime we've had an issue with Boone Williams not being in the game. Look at how much falls off. You get 2 or 3 guys like that on the team, then all of a sudden you don't let off the pedal. If he's in trouble, hurt, sick, academically, attitude, or whatever the issues are, bang, you got somebody else in there who can do just as much damage, and they just don't have that depth
They
yet.
let the
So,
depth to do that.
and Stoops has said it over
And
and
you gotta look
over and
at,
over.
going into the season, what was supposed to be the strength turned out to be the largest weakness. Everybody said the offensive line for Kentucky was gonna be one of the strengths going into the SEC. They proved that that's probably the worst.
And they said the defense was gonna be
I
worse.
mean, let's be real.
And
And-
it's been
The
better than
defense-
And I think the defense has
Scored.
done what they needed to do.
They kept them in the
I think the
defense
defense has
scored.
done that.
But Stoops
You
says,
know.
look, that's what he did. He was the defensive coordinator at Florida
Yeah.
State. That's his.
And there was conflict on calls throughout the game. There was call made, I think, inside the 2-yard line. They had to call a timeout. Stoops was vivid. You could see visually not happy with what they were calling on that. They had to call that off. I mean, there was some
Well, they took a
conflict in
timeout
that.
for a punt,
Yeah.
and then they didn't take the timeout for the field goal.
Again, it goes
5
back
yards
to,
back, and they barely missed the field goal. I mean, there were a lot of things.
there's a
that went on
lot
that
of
game.
coaching things that you
Yeah.
go, and it's not game 1. We have 2 games less in the season, and there's so many fundamental mistakes that are coming up that you go, what is going on?
A lot of talk
What's
about
going on?
Stoops hiring a full-time or a designated special teams coach for next year
And
too.
where that
Because
was.
they've been doing that by committee this year,
Right,
and it
and
hasn't worked out the
No,
greatest.
that's turned out to be a travesty as well.
There might be a job for the guy at Madison Southern, because he's done a good job with his special teams.
Now,
Tom Clark in
there
there.
you go.
Yeah, but anyhow, what do you guys wanna talk about in college basketball?
Well, we can't talk about EKU football too, right?
Oh,
no,
Talk about
I'm
football,
sorry,
we're talking about
sorry.
EKU football
That
is
is true. We
right
have
down to the
Yeah.
wire. They go to Eastern Illinois this weekend with a must-win situation. They're in 4th place, actually a tie with UT Martin for 3rd, and UT Martin has the head-to-head advantage there. So this is a must-win for Eastern to even be put into the mix for the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's a 24-team playoff. If it was the 16-team playoff like it used to be, you'd have to feel like Eastern was done. But they still have a glimmer of hope if they can go down there and pull the win at Eastern Illinois. And Eastern Illinois is no slouch.
And they started that do or die last weekend. They went into that game knowing you have to win this game. You don't win this game, you're
Well-
out. So they've been. This is playoff time for them. And they, you know, we talked about their season, and I think their glitch was probably the Tennessee Martin game when they should have. They were up 20.
They had they gave up 25 points in the last quarter.
They took some of that game off and maybe some preparation off of, to me, that's still just a little bit of the hangover. They played all but 5 minutes against Kentucky and had that game won.
Well, I think they were the better team against Kentucky.
Yeah,
They
you know what I
were.
mean?
There
And
was
I
no
just
chance
think
they
if
would.
they
If you
win
look at
that
the
game, I
stats,
mean,
they
it
were
changes the
better.
whole season for them, and so maybe not, but you're beat up a little bit. I know they played another game in between, but you kind of that stuff lingers in some respects, but they need the win to be considered for the playoffs.
Well, their quarterback, Coney, threw for over 400 yards, first time in Eastern history. They pulled out a double overtime win at Murray, which they had to have, and just maybe they're riding some momentum
Right.
now going into this next game. But,
Well, it's that
always tough to
mentality.
win on the road.
It's do or die. You win or go home.
Murray's
That's the
always
way
a
it
tough
is.
battle, and I think they left town, didn't even have their defensive cards or their offensive cards. They had somebody bring them down on Saturday.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So with the new athletic director, Steve Lockmuller, what do you think? Coach, he has to win
Well,
to keep his job.
I would
I don't know. I
Same
thought
thing
Easters
about-
had a really good year, other than the Tennessee Martin game, which I thought. I think you're safe if you beat a one-way team and you got a chance.
But Jacksonville State is just head and shoulders above everybody in the
They should be
OVC.
almost.
They took Auburn to overtime, so
And should have
you
won
know
that
they got
game.
talent.
And should have won that.
And they've got 6 D1 guys on their front line, which you can only play 5 of them at a time. I mean, so they get a lot of transfers like Eastern used to get, and all those kids
And
from
they've
Florida.
had
they
this
come in.
division. They've had that OVC for a few years. They're the team obviously to beat. We talked about in the last regional show. EKU has to beat Jacksonville State. It was right before the Kentucky game. We were talking about, well, Kentucky.
Yeah.
That's not on their plate. Kentucky was a great game. They played a great game. They were the better team. But Jacksonville State was who they had to take care of, and they had to take care of that business. And they obviously they couldn't do that. But and then I think they.
Well, if they're going to win the championship. It's going through Jacksonville State.
It's all going.
As far as any changes in the coaching status on any of the sports at Eastern, I think that if Eastern is going to make a move to a different division, in which they've tried, they're going to have to make sure that they're winning consistently in all facets of the sports programs: volleyball, basketball, softball, baseball, football. I mean, it all has to be part of it. And I think this is a contract year for the football and softball coaches. I don't know what's going to happen with them. I know there's been other changes made throughout the program, so we'll kind of see how it goes. But I like the people that he's picked so far with the coaches that he's brought in. And you've talked and been to their practices for the basketball, the college basketball.
Right, it's going to be an exciting year
It is.
for Eastern basketball.
They got a shooter.
They've got many shooters.
Yeah.
And they've got some athletes that we haven't seen on the floor up at Eastern for a long time. I've been
True.
very impressed with their athleticism. And they've got some kids that they brought in that are going to help them immediately and already have. They're playing at UNC Wilmington tonight, and they just flat put it on Coppin State.
Absolutely, I got to see that.
Over the
And this
weekend.
does this mirror last year's type of a team? Because they were running gun.
No, it's a completely different system.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dan McHale's come
Quicker.
in, and he is a Patino disciple. He worked under Patino as video coordinator. He actually did 2 stints with them. He's worked under Richard Patino at Minnesota, Kevin Willard up at Seton Hall. That's the whole Patino family there. So he's going to press. He's going to shoot the 3, up tempo. They scored 107 points the other night. Their opening game looked very impressive, and they've just got some talent. I mean,
The game I
there's some
circled,
And
talent.
it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
They were.
As a spectator, as a fan, they never fill up that arena, and they're going to need to. This team's going to be
The
fun.
game I circled on that was the Belmont game on ESPNU late in the season. If you have the type of season that's going on, that's in Richmond. I think that could be what you're talking about. You and I remember you sell it out. Everybody's wild. That's the way it's going to be. That to me is going to be a
There's
feature
3
game.
headline games, I think, on the schedule. Of course, Moorhead is always a huge rival game, and they pack the Coliseum for that every year. And they actually go down to Western December 1st for the first time. It's the first time they've played Western in a while. So I'm thinking about going back down to that game too. I'm from old school when Western was in the OVC, and that red towel still infuriates me. I can't stand it.
Well, you need to go down there then.
Take some maroon.
I will drive you down there if that's the case.
I watched them play Coppin State the other day. I agree with you. Their quickness, their team play. I mean, it was dribble, it was drive and pass, and I think that they were ball hawking so much. Even I saw a couple balls being stolen on inbound plays by Coppin. You know what I mean? And I just think that they're pretty heady. Their IQ that night and their passion and their desire and their ability, man, that they were sharp against Coppin State. And if they play
Patino's
like that,
system defensively is built on deflections, and they chart that. And the more deflections you get, it's a sign of hustle. It's also going to lead to turnovers. They're going to score a lot of points off their defense this year. They've got Isaac McClone kid back from last year, excellent shooter. He's kind of a combination guard. He's not a real pure point guard. And Jamil Powell is coming back. He's a 6'7", kind of a swing man for them. But the influx of new people coming in, they've got this Rochelle kid that's come in as a grad student from the University of Rhode Island. Very smooth, can do impressive things in all phases of the game. Great rebounder, passer, uses his head, good three-point shooter, physical kid that can play defense and rebound, and he is really going to be fun to watch. They've got a Hawkins kid that set out last year from South Florida, and he's been a good scorer for them early. And keep your eye on Nick Mayo, this freshman that's come in. He's about 6'8", 6'9". He was player of the year in Maine, and he is just so fundamental. He can do a little bit of everything. He gives them an inside presence. Physically, he can score from the post. He can step out on the floor and shoot the ball. Another jumping jack kid out of St. Louis is a freshman, Anthony Pratt. And then they got a transfer from Iowa State, this KG Buford, that can fill it up from outside. So they're just really loaded with talent. They've got 2 local kids that are working with the program, David Clarks and Kirkland Humphrey.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's another reason to come out and watch them this year.
Yeah.
And they're just going to be really entertaining.
You know what, and they are really doing a great job at trying to get the local community involved. They've got this Elite 100 now, the first 100 members this year being a part of the Colonel Club. They're getting all kinds of special things, and they've hosted a dinner to try to woo them, I guess, the kind of thing.
Sounds like it'll be a fun year.
Yeah, they're really doing some different things, and give kudos to Steve Lockmuller on all of that.
And
So
I think the 30-second shot clock benefits a team like this.
It does, and the emphasis on hand checking. You know, any team that can
And
drive the
freedom.
ball and freedom of movement type of deal.
And the fake fouls are technical now, you know.
If you
fake
get
fouls.
caught, if they review it, it is a technical if they review it and they
Yeah.
found out that you're fake.
You know, that 30-second shot clock thing helps an Eastern team the way they play this year.
Right.
Last year, with the Princeton offense that Neubauer ran, and not knocking it, it was beautiful to watch and I loved it, but they went late in the shot clock quite a bit before they got what they wanted. And this year, I think they've got the capability to in transition, they're going to score, and early on, they're running a lot of ball screens, and they're going to open the floor a lot.
And that's what you want to see. I think
There's no 5-second rule, so you can, if you got somebody that can handle the ball, they can run
Yeah,
it.
there's
just
no-
over, you
yeah,
know,
Which
they
is a
can
rule I
run it.
don't like, by the way, but.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, when you run into a team that maybe has more size, it's going to slow it down. That was the other thing, maybe the only deterrent for them. I think with 6'8", 6'9" is a pretty good size, and they've got about 4 or 5 guys that are 6'7" and up.
Yep.
Belmont and Murray
Yeah.
are always teams that you have to beat in the OVC. I watched Belmont beat Marquette last night on
Yeah.
TV, and they've got a lot of people back. Murray is always bringing in transfers and are always loaded, but
And a
I
lot of
think
them make
athletically,
the
What
Eastern
channel
matches
was
up.
that
Yeah,
on?
a lot of ESPNU.
You know,
Yeah.
I
I'm
don't
a
like
junkie,
those
okay? I'm
channels.
flipping channels all the time. I don't remember what channel was on.
I'm
There's a
like,
lot of good,
oh,
and there'll be, that's
mine
what I
don't
said,
go up
this,
that
I
high.
think it's great, the exposure for like a Belmont.
I don't believe
EKU
that's
game.
right.
I think that's a great exposure for these I think it's a great play for these players. You know, we know Kentucky's gonna be on TV all the time, so,
Yep.
you know, we know how that goes. I guess we can segue into that, and how they're gonna be this year after.
Listen, before we go on any further to talk about UK, I know we're going to get to UK and Louisville basketball. So before we do, this is FayetteCountySchoolSports.com. I want to make sure you know where to find us. But we want to thank Jack Burford Chevrolet. They're one of our official sponsors. And of course, Express Roofing. So if you need a new roof, let me tell you something. You need to call them because they're quick and they can get a new roof on your house, especially before the rain and the snow's coming, because it's coming.
I feel it.
They're talking about blizzard conditions
No, I don't
and
know that.
tornado conditions like in the next week.
Oh,
All
really?
over the country,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So, but it's coming this way.
Yeah, we'll
coming
see.
this
Don't
way.
rain on my parade, I'm liking the summer stuff.
So y'all were talking about like the instant replays and that kind of stuff. Think about how much it changed the outcome of the game even last night. You weren't watching it because you were watching basketball, but like the Seattle Seahawks game. Did anybody watch that? Am I the only one watching NFL last night?
I caught the end of it.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the instant replay, I can't imagine anymore.
Right. And that's become a big part of it, and you want to get it right. You know, I mean, I like watching baseball when they got the little strike zone thing up there.
Oh, yeah.
How good those umpires
Yeah.
are. Those umpires
It's
are
going to come to that
good.
someday, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just,
But
there's no,
Hey,
that little division, it's gonna ring and white, right?
UK basketball, what do you
Yeah,
think about
let's
that?
go.
You've seen them a couple times, they're 2-0, they beat Albany 78-65, and then they beat the New Jersey Institute of Technology 87-57. And that team beat Michigan either last year or the year before, so
Both
that
those
team
teams are supposed to
fairly,
be NCAA
Yeah.
teams this year, I think that's what they're saying. Kentucky's the same Kentucky, right?
They
They're
play
young,
Duke tomorrow
they're
night at
athletic,
7:30.
I
they're
am
big.
wearing my I Hate Christian Leitner shirt tomorrow. We'll wear it
Like,
all
I've
day
even gotten one of
proudly.
You know, I think it's really odd because obviously I went to school in Kentucky. I can tell you where I was when Leighton hit the shot, but
Me too.
I don't think that game is really insignificant to anything. That's going to be both those teams are really going to gauge where they're at tomorrow. Duke lost a load of people. They've got a load of talent in.
Yes.
Kentucky lost a load of people, and they got a load of talent coming in.
Not as much as Duke.
And I think it's going to be interesting to see what talent steps up. I mean, Alex Poitras, the last time they played Duke, had one win in the game, and he, that was his game.
Well, he's
So
gonna have
he
to
did
step
it.
up
He's
tomorrow
gonna have
because
to
they're gonna
step
need
up
that
and
from
play
him.
that.
And it's gonna be a different Kentucky look this year. You know, they're gonna be more guard oriented. They're starting 3 guards. Calipari's put the dribble drive offense back in. I don't think they're gonna be the defensive team that they were
Right.
They got a
last
long
I
way to
agree.
go.
I don't
They
think
got a
they
long
have
way
the
to go.
They're not
inside
gonna have the
presence
shot
yet.
blockers and that
Yep.
presence, but Jamal Murray, to me, when they signed him, that just put Kentucky up on another level because he's got, I think he's better than Devin
He's a
Booker right
superstar.
now.
He's a superstar.
And,
And everybody says that when you talk about Kentucky and you talk about some people that we were talking to, that Jamal Murray is a star.
Oh,
He's going to be that good.
Yeah.
And he's going to be that much of an
It
impact.
wouldn't
Is
surprise
he
me
the
if they
kid
had
from
2
Canada?
picks in the NBA
Uh,
in the top 5 next
Again,
spring.
right.
Scal Labrizier is,
got a
6'11".
beautiful fadeaway, right?
I think
He has got excellent touch. He's gonna have to
Mid-range.
develop physically, but Carl Towns last year, he wasn't the most physical kid early on in the year. But
Yeah, I
came
think he
on.
was still more of a strength-oriented player inside. It was weird because I was listening to Kentucky Sports Radio Hours today, and there was a comparison between Towns and Skal, and Skal has a much better mid-range jump shot, and he keeps it so high. And they said that's going to make him a star because you can't physically block. He had 8 straight.
He was
in
10
the
for
first part of
12 from the field goal.
Yeah.
Then went
And
in
it
the
was-
second half before he missed the shot.
And he's a 6'11", so,
And
you know.
he puts it so high, and he's got that nice little mid-range fadeaway. It's almost impossible. And they compared that to almost a Kevin McHale type of player, who's almost impossible to beat. He doesn't have the strength yet, but he's going to be.
They don't draft on
Yeah,
that.
they draft on potential. They
Well, look
always
at what
have.
Carl Towns is doing in the NBA.
Oh, he's number 1 draft pick. He's going to be
Something
yeah.
else I'm impressed with, look at Boogie and Rondo. They're having
Rondo.
a blast right now, but anyway.
Wall and all that group. Yeah, they're
They're having a good time out there.
But it
They're doing
is,
some fun stuff.
Kentucky is the same type of fun. It was weird because first of all, you say how many people are coming back, or there's a couple players gone. Well, Jamal Murray, I think, is gone. There's no chance. I think Scout's going to go on. But if they can keep that intact because they've got another great class coming in, almost as if last year. Remember that? You got a couple people that stuck around. And it'd be interesting to see.
See, you're already
if they
talking
can-
about what they're going to lose this year. Let's talk about this year.
I got it.
There's a typical Kentucky fan right there.
But they are gonna lose them, you
Always
know it,
saying
right?
that, they're signed some really good kids
Yeah.
already for next year.
And it's going to be a fun year for them. I do agree.
Well, the
It's gonna
Briscoe
be a fun
kid
year.
is going to add another
Yeah.
element of toughness to them. He's about a 6'4" kid out of New Jersey and a really good defender. Coach Calipari has said that he thinks he can be the best defender in the nation. Then you got the Charles Matthews kid out of Chicago. He's kind of been lost in the shuffle, but really athletic kid's going to come in and help him. Eric Willis
Stepped
has,
up.
he's come onto the scene this year and he's stepped up for them. And of course, you got Ulyss and Porth Lee coming back from last year. So as far as talent goes, they haven't dropped off too much from last year.
Hated for Dominic Hawkins. He's saying that too. You got too much talent sitting in the point guard spot. He's going to get some time, but you hate to see that for him because they are
But
loaded.
he
He
knew,
played quite a bit the
when he
first
went
game.
there. He knew
He
when he
played
went
quite a bit
there.
the first game.
Right.
And he's a
And
defensive
so-
player. I loved it. I love the kid. Everybody, I mean, you can't be from this area and not love the kid. He's
Yeah.
just a great kid. You love to see it, but he's got some people in front of him
Well,
that's going to be
That
tough to move out.
competition and the fact that he broke his
Right.
hand in the preseason, it's hard to
It's
keep
tough.
your momentum going. They said he's been playing really well over the summer though.
And I think hopefully he has a really good year this year. I like to see him get some minutes and contribute a lot. So I think that's going to be a great time for him.
Are we talking Louisville basketball at all?
I'm not talking a little basketball.
I am.
I
We're not gonna get into all the
they're
mistresses.
They've got a lot of off the court issues that they're going to have to deal with all year long.
I was looking at a Twitter thing, and it was 2 teams in Kentucky played first this year, projected to be NCAA teams, and Louisville isn't. That was just an interesting little fact already early in
Well,
the day.
being in the ACC
It's going to be tough.
and going through what they're going through right now, It's gonna be tough for them. I mean, you know, they always invite a lot of teams from the ACC.
Right.
But for them to be in the upper tier, it's gonna be tough when you got Duke and North Carolina, that you have to compete with. And then there's several other teams that, and I always wanna say Maryland, but Maryland's in the Big Ten now. And Maryland is a
all
top
moved
2 or
around
3
so much.
team, depending on who you talk to, so.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of people thought Pitino would lose his job over this little scandal.
Well, it's not
going
over.
on,
It's-
I was
but-
gonna
It's
say,
not over.
the NCAA just started that investigation,
Yeah.
I think there had actually some cooperation with the NCAA.
Would they
on
get
that,
rid of
so-
him in the middle of the season?
Absolutely.
I
I
don't
mean,
think
they got rid of Eddie Sutton. It was the same thing with him and Casey. That money opened up in that Emory package and he thought, hey, it's his. Who's in charge of the program is what boils down to.
Yes, and he's
Yeah.
making millions.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
I just
but I
don't
mean,
see
Someone
it's
it.
said that if he didn't know about it, he should resign. If he did know about it, he'll definitely get fired. So
Well,
it's gonna
it's,
Pitino, he carries so much clout though. It's hard to
that's the
get
hard
rid of a
thing.
guy like
I
that.
think if the conversation goes, did the recruit get secured, did he wanna sign, yes, I don't wanna know anything else. I mean, that's probably what that conversation
Right.
talks about, I don't wanna know, don't tell me, I don't need to know, and then you don't, but that's on campus, in a dorm, you have to know. You have to know what's going on.
You know,
So when that all that clears out, what comes out of the NCAA investigation, then I think there'll probably be some more factual information we can base it on. But until then, he's not going anywhere. He's gonna be pretty secured until they find out everything else. Now,
Well,
the program takes a bite out of it, and they go on, some serious
I think
suspensions.
there's
and
definitely
things
some
like
kind
that.
of
Repercussions
probation
with
or
recruits.
something.
well, the whole thing in the scandal at this point is that 4 or 5 or 6 of the people that were supposedly involved in it was like, we didn't get paid for anything. We didn't get anything. They're getting.
They might have got something.
Yeah.
They might have left us something
She
to
went
go
there.
with, but I mean,
We don't know, but
I mean,
We're
it
not
was,
saying
the
what
whole
it
thing is
is.
just, the whole
but I
thing is
mean,
just
to me,
bizarre.
that
so.
could be the out for, I mean, if this is really not what she says it is, as far as people being paid and all this being instigated through
Yeah, there's
a
some
changing
defamation
of
character
funds and
issues
stuff,
going on.
absolutely, and until you really get all of that out, but I mean, some of the people supposedly involved are like, no, we never got paid for anything, we didn't have anything to do with that, and this is not something that, that they're gonna be a part of, so that might be the out for them, and it could just be, it might shake down, not be what everybody thinks it is, but
Well, I
it looks
just wouldn't
pretty
come out
sketchy.
And
The
the credibility of the author is gonna have to be, think about what we're saying we're doing, and you're writing a book about it,
And announcing that her 15-year-old daughter.
and your
is-
daughter was involved, and
Right.
it's like, all right,
It's
where's
almost
your
like-
credibility in all this? There's a lot of questions that have to be
Yeah.
answered,
Right.
and
True.
until all those are answered, I don't think
Right.
there's any
It's
way.
almost like there's a
Then
mastermind
anybody's
behind
gonna
it,
step down.
pushing it forward,
It's
move
just-
Pitino out of the job.
Yeah, well, I think he's been holding on to that job, because I think they're trying to get Richard ready, that was my understanding.
Yeah.
The coaching waiting, Richard's gonna prove himself, but I don't think he's had a good season up in Minnesota, I think he's still trying to get to that.
We had a good showing in NIT there a couple of years ago.
Yeah, they won
but,
2 years ago, they won NIT, but, I think last year they didn't do anything very well, I don't think they've been NIT last year, did they? I don't know, I don't know, but I know they didn't have a very good year last year, so a lot depends on how he does and how he goes this year.
Is this his 3rd year at Minnesota?
Yeah, so he's gonna have to, I think he's gonna have to produce this year, and that's a big job now. It wasn't before, Louisville was Danny Crum, and that was all like Ben. It's high visibility right now.
Louisville's always had a great tradition. It's
Yeah,
just,
that's what I'm saying, you
go
don't
back.
just get that job, they've just recently won a national championship, they've been in the Final Fours the last few years, this is not a job you just hand to somebody because there's somebody,
An assistant.
This is a
It's
big
a
deal.
situation, whoever comes in there, if there is a change.
It's a good
will
program right now.
Have to overcome a lot, it'll be like the Pitino when he took over UK, you're building
Right.
from scratch.
You're gonna have to be a really good recruiter. I think that's.
So who's gonna win this game tomorrow night between Duke and UK?
They can go anywhere, either way.
Yes.
Here's what, and somebody was mentioning, I was talking to one of the guys at, the funders at UK, who's an alumni over there, and he said, it boils down to coaching on this one. And now, if you put that out there for a minute, okay, and think about it, you got equal amount of talent on both sides. Let's say that's it. How do you coach your bench and how do you coach the game? Now,
That's
who do you
true.
give the edge to on that?
Who comes up with, who handles the big stage
Right.
tomorrow? You've got a lot of kids that are put into this situation they've never been into
Right.
before. And,
Yeah.
if Kentucky rebounds and plays good defense and takes care of the basketball, they turned it over a little bit, that first game, but they take care of the basketball, I feel like, they can stay right in there with
And
Duke.
I think the turnovers that's a whole new system for Euless and them, and they're playing different this year, and asking them to
Right.
play
They're playing
different.
faster,
And they're
and
learning
there's
new
gonna be more
players,
turnovers.
right, so,
Murray's
that,
very
you know, I
controlled.
can live with
Very
that.
calm
Defensive
in
presence in the
situations.
middle, I'm a little worried about, but, you know, I agree with you, it's gonna boil down to the coaching tomorrow night, and we're gonna
Well,
see where everybody stands. I
they're
know
gonna-
Coach said, I'm not predicting a win, but
You're
I'm
not
excited
gonna
to see
bet
where
on the
my
game?
team's at.
Right, and I don't, there's really no consequence.
couldn't pick
think
my
both
mom out of
these-
a police
both these
lineup. I don't
teams,
gamble.
both these teams are gonna find themselves tomorrow. I don't think it's gonna be either good or bad.
Keep an eye on ball containment. Who handles ball screens the best, who keeps the ball out of the paint? Because once the ball gets in the paint, both teams have the three-point shooters in the perimeter where you can kick out.
And I think
and
Kentucky's a
really
better
hurt them.
shooting team this year than they were
Definitely.
last year.
Anybody driving to Chicago tomorrow? to watch?
No,
No.
I thought about it, but.
Thought about it.
no.
Nobody going.
We sitting at home, you know,
Yeah.
we're gonna take it easy, so.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
All right, we need to start wrapping up this show. Anybody got any more basketball that they want to talk about?
No basketball, I wanna say congratulations again.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
And maybe you can say
Yeah.
something
Are you
about
talking about
that.
his daughter Emily?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fortunate enough to get a offer for her to play softball at Georgetown College, and I'm excited for it. It's a perfect fit. And there was 5 athletes that signed from Madison Central over the last couple of days in the early signing period. 2 going to UK, 1 for track, 1 for swimming. Got a golfer going to Illinois. The lady
Tristan.
Tristan
Nolan.
Nolan she was the Kentucky State
Miss Golf.
Yeah, Miss Golf.
Mm-hmm.
And then Emily Willoughby's going to Cumberland to play soccer. So it's been a big deal for Central.
Yeah.
There's some other kids that are going to have an opportunity to sign as they go along, but I appreciate you pointing that out. And we miss Don Foster. He was a little under the weather.
Oh,
Mike. He's
no.
generally
Miss
one of
my
the
man,
guys
I miss him.
I know.
that is,
I
you know, he
know.
has a lot of the information that comes out. He has
Yeah.
his, you know, ideas and views, and sometimes we agree and sometimes we don't. but
Most
he's
of the
fun to
time you
pick on.
don't.
It's
But
fun.
But he's
It's fun
right.
going back
You
and
know,
forth
I mean,
with
he's,
Don.
That's
he's
what we're all
genuine.
about,
Yeah,
right?
That's what it's all
he's-
about.
He's calling it like he sees it, and I appreciate that.
Anybody
He's
gonna
a
drive
fun
him
part
over
of
some
it.
chicken noodle soup or?
Yeah, I don't
Apparently he didn't want to come to the room, so I'm
No,
gonna stay away from
nah.
it. He said, I don't want to get anybody
That's
sick. I said, that's enough for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll mail him some chicken
absolutely.
noodles.
Yes.
But other than that, yeah, I enjoy doing the show with you.
It'll be a lot of fun this year with basketball. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
There's Doug, Larry, Terry.
And Samantha. And listen, you are watching FayetteCountySchoolSports.com. I'm Samantha Burford. We are sponsored by these 2 sponsors, Jack Burford Chevrolet and Express Roofing. We want to thank them very much. Gentlemen, thank you guys very much because it's been a wonderful show.
Absolutely.
And
And
we
fun as
wrapped it
always.
up a lot sooner today. Maybe we talked faster.
Well, you know, we had a little bit of a schedule and, you know, I think they get to argue with Don.
No, I know. You guys let me
That's my
get
man.
my
I
first
see
one,
you.
too.
You had 4 chair with Donna. It's a whole different element.
And
We
I
just go, we talk
appreciate you
about
guys letting me
DK
get
football.
my 2 cents worth in there every once in a while. So, all right, we want to thank everybody for watching FayetteCountySchoolSports.com, and we'll say goodbye from here. Thanks,
Buy your
everybody.
car from Jack Burford Chevy or get your roof from Express Roofing.
That's all right.
Express Roofing. And
The
there's
snow is coming.
There's 2
Now I feel
beautiful
like a fan.
Corvettes in the lobby up there.
The snow is coming.
They come with bows and divorce papers.